A very good morning to all our viewers. It's bright and early on a Monday, and we're glad that you've joined us live here on Moneycontrol, watching Newspresso with me, Stacy Pereira. Well, in the next few minutes, we're going to be giving you a lowdown on all the top stories, a lot of macro cues that we are getting in. Of course, all the earnings that are trickling in, and much more from the world of sports, as well as all the buzzing new trends to keep you up to speed with everything that's going on across the globe. Let's get you straight to what we're getting from our global dispatch. Well, it was a positive end to the week on Wall Street last Friday as the Dow Jones rose on the back of upbeat earnings from some of the biggest banks. Now, the Dow added about 113 odd points, but it was the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq that really declined in trade. Although if you look for the week, the three major averages were in the green, with the Dow notching up its best performance since March, up about 2.3%, the S&P 500 adding 2.4%, whereas the Nasdaq gaining about 3.3%. Among the stocks that were making the big moves, of course, all the banking names, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, all of those closed higher on the back of their positive earnings. We saw insurance giant United Health stock to jump about 7% as the company raised its yearly earnings guidance. So a lot to look forward to on Wall Street as well. And meanwhile, European stocks, those one closed mixed. On a mixed note, one could say regional stock 600 index closing about just 0.1% lower, oscillating between gains and losses. That was the tech stocks that were the ones adding those gains, while the telecom stocks, those were the ones that came under pressure after both Nokia as well as Ericsson posted underwhelming earning report. Now, other than France's CAC, all the other major indices in the European region closed in the red. And let's turn our focus to markets in the Asia-Pacific region, which have opened for trade this week, although under some bit of pressure, we could say, as investors are looking out for that GDP number from China as well as IIP figures. In fact, those numbers have just trickled in. China's GDP for the second quarter growing by just about 6.3% on a YOY basis, clearly a miss from what analysts were estimating and predicted a 7.3% increase. Now, the 6.3 GDP print marks a 0.8% pace of growth from the first quarter, whereas the IIP number, or industrial production, for June has risen to 4.4% from a year ago, better than that 2.7% that was forecasted. If you look at all of the markets, well, Japan's markets are going to be closed today on the occasion of Marine Day, whereas Hong Kong markets are likely to be closed all of today due to the warning that has been issued due to Typhoon Talim. Now, meanwhile, in Australia, the markets have opened lower in anticipation of unemployment data that is to be released this week, whereas South Korea's Kospi, that one is trading lower by nearly 0.5% ahead of its release of trade figures. GIFT Nifty here, though, is signaling a positive start for the Indian markets. All in all, it's going to be a data-heavy week for the Asian markets. Quick look at the commodity space there. Now, there seems to be some kind of profit taking there as well that we witnessed on Friday, and that continues in oil trade. We saw oil prices slip more than $1. However, on the weekly charts, they did post a 3-week of gains. Now, Brent crude futures have fallen below that $80 per barrel mark and trading somewhere around 79.87 per barrel dollar. Now, the fluctuation in oil prices can also be attributed to that strengthening dollar index, which is comfortably above that 100 mark, which has even hit that 15-month low during that last session. Remember, a stronger greenback reduces oil demand, making crude more expensive for investors holding other currencies. And to more M&A action, where Microsoft is almost a move closer, one could say, in acquiring Activision Blizzard in the most expensive gaming deal in history, what is being touted as. Now, it went on to sign a 10-year deal with arch rival Sony, and this is in order to keep its popular title Call of Duty on the PlayStation consoles. Now, the agreement does signal a truce between the two gaming giants after that bruising 18-run battle that has seen the Japanese company become the biggest opponent to this acquisition. Sony executives had, in fact, even raised concerns as recently as last month that the deal would have anti-competitive effects. But now going ahead and signing this deal with Microsoft, so you're going to have a Call of Duty on your PlayStation's consoles, at least for the next 10 years. And well, on the other side, we're also seeing deadly landslides and floods that have wreaked havoc in South Korea. Now, floods have caused death of over 37 people. People were also trapped inside a tunnel. As per reports, authorities have retrieved bodies of about 8 people yesterday. And since Friday, South Korea has been under that high alert of storm battered the capital Seoul. Now, but earlier this week, we also saw Japan, which reported floods in Kyushu Island. In Japan, too, over 8 people have reported dead due to the floods, while scientists have warned that climate change has increased the risk of floods in many of these countries. In Asia, about over 100 people have died due to the vast rains. Let's get you up to speed with all the action on the Lal Street and what we need to be looking for. Well, it seems like bulls were in charge last week, pushing those benchmarks to record high levels, and Nifty and Sensex both managing to gain to close a percentage each higher, one could say. Nifty shutting shop above that 19,500 levels, whereas the Sensex surmounting that 66,000 peak. Now, the sharp surge in IT pack was the key highlight, one could say, on the sectoral front. Post those earnings we saw from TCS, Wipro as well as HCL Tech, which really built the market. Now, for the week, though, analysts believe that markets could see some bit of consolidation now, while earnings will dictate how individual stocks react. Now, monsoon progression as well as FII participation will be the other factors to be watching out for, or the cues that markets will then take ahead. And it's going to be yet another week, busy week, one could say, waiting to unfold for the primary markets as 2 public issues will be rolled out for bidding and 4 listings have been lined up for the process. Now, in the main segment, we have high-end computing solution provider NetWeb Technologies India, which will open its IPO offering today with a price band of 475 to 500 per share. The second IPO for next week will be Ashrafi Hospitals from the SME segment. This issue will open today as well and will close on July 19th. The price band for this is about 51 to 52 rupees per share. Now, as for the making of these 3 debuts, Accelerate BS India, Kaka Industries, Drone Destination as well as Alpha Solar Technologies will be the ones listing in the SME segment, while there will be no listings in the main board segment. And well, the 2-day meeting of G20 finance ministers as well as the central bank governors will begin from today. And we have government officials who've said that India will push their G20 partners to support its proposal to raise shares for taxes of multinational companies having to pay into countries that they earn excess profits in. Now, India's Sherpa Amitabh Kant said that brokering peace between Russia and Ukraine is beyond the remit of the G20 and that these efforts can be best undertaken through the UN bilateral negotiations. Now, at the G20 finance minister and central bank governors meeting, Nirmala Sitharaman as well as Canadian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, that is Chrystia Freeland, discussed the constructive participation at a G20. Sitharaman also addressed India and Indonesia's press meet. Listen in to excerpts of what went down there.
India has taken over the G20 presidency from Indonesia, and there are several legacy issues which we are continuing to take forward during our presidency. In this context, this dialogue, which we are announcing today, can play an instrumental role in reaching a common understanding on issues and taking forward the global agenda from the perspective of the emerging market developing economies. I believe that this dialogue will facilitate better cooperation between India and Southeast Asia, while contributing to the global economic and financial stability.
Now, meanwhile, we also had the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who visited Gandhinagar ahead of that G20 meet, and she listed out a few priorities that will reform multilateral developments of banks and the frameworks that they should target and use concessional financing, of course, and the option with the World Bank to lend to sub-sovereign as well as super-sovereign entities, and streamlining the climate finance architecture. These were some of the main points that were discussed. Let's listen in to what Yellen had to say.
So friendshoring is an important foundation of our approach to increasing the resilience of our supply chains. And we see India as an indispensable partner in that, and more broadly. I hope to use this trip to deepen what is already a very significant relationship with respect to friendshoring that the United States and India have.
On Friday, we did have Prime Minister Modi, who attended the Bastille Day celebrations in Paris and also met with top CEOs there. This included Aman Gandhi as the CEO of Boat, as well as Lina Nair, the CEO of Chanel. Now, after concluding his visit to France, he then went on to go to UAE, where he met with the president of UAE. Now, India and UAE also went on to sign the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or CEPA, last year. And since then, economic and trade partnership has grown between both the countries. On concluding his visit, PM Modi also highlighted the many issues where India and UAE have been working together to make our planet a better place. And he went on to thank the Middle East nations under Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan for the warm hospitality that was extended towards him. And to all the trends that are making the rounds, we have to tell you about that really exciting match that went down last evening. So if you're a tennis fan, I'm pretty sure that you were hooked on to your devices last night with that men's finale that we saw of the Wimbledon. Now, after that neck-to-neck match between Carlos Alcaraz, who won that Wimbledon men's final, this denied Djkovic, obviously, from lifting that Wimbledon Cup for the 5th consecutive time. While on the other side, we did see Vondrousova, who won the women's single. While in the men's double front, we saw Neil Supski, who became the first British man to win the title with his Dutch partner, Welsey Koolhof. Now, we also saw Su Hui of Thailand, as well as Barbara Skyskova of Czechoslovakia, who won the second Wimbledon's doubles for the women's side. A lot has transpired on social media between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, and we've been telling you all those updates since that has been happening. But from that challenge to that cage match to the fight over Twitter and Threads, both the tech giants have now ended things for a good, it seems. Well, it could be, but these are actually AI-generated images of Musk and Zuckerberg, who seem to have been having quite a day at the beach. That's right, the Twitter user Sir Doge of Coin shared an AI-generated collage of both the billionaires in a scenario that showed a good ending for them. In one of the pictures, they can actually be seen holding hands, while in another, they can be seen hugging. Now, pictures have, of course, gone viral on social media and even got the reaction from Twitter CEO himself. Well, in the real world, however, the cage match between both CEOs is still something that we're pending. And like you, even we are waiting to see what are the latest updates on that. And we'll definitely be bringing those to you as and when it does happen. But also, if a graduation ceremony is one of those most important days that one looks forward to, right? And we all do love to don that black robe and throw our hats up in the air, take pictures. But seems like that black robe and degree in hand picture doesn't fancy kids from Gen Z anymore, because they'd rather dress up as whoever they want to mark this day. In fact, students from a university in Kyoto in Japan have dressed up in costumes, right from Iron Man to Pikachu to Power Rangers, for their graduation ceremony. And even before Kyoto, a couple of public universities in Tokyo were the first ones to allow students to wear whatever they wanted for their graduation day. And would that really be exciting for somebody like you and me to take, get done with those black robes instead and then go as dressed as your favorite character? Is that something that you would like to encourage? And would you think that it's something that universities across the world over should be doing? If that is something that you think is really exciting and would change how we really look at graduation, let us know what you think about it in our comment section, and we'll see whether this trend is something that can pick up a world over. Let's also get you up to speed with all that you need to be looking out for in today's day. Well, we do have earnings, of course, and HDFC Bank as well as LTI Mindtree, that is the one, remember, that has entered the Nifty 50 now, replacing HDFC, will be announcing their Q1 earnings results. Remember, this will be the first meeting of the board of directors since that mega merger between the bank as well as the housing finance company. So that you need to be looking out for. You also can look at Tata Motors, which will be increasing its passenger vehicle both in the ICE as well as EV segments, which will be effective from today. So if you were looking to buy a Tata car, it's going to cost you more. as well as a rain havoc in North India. Of course, the government and private schools in areas bordering the Yamuna River in Delhi, those ones have remained closed all of for July 17 as well as 18, according to the Directorate of Education, as well as Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. He's announced a financial aid of 10,000 each for those flood-affected families. We also have, remember, that crucial, important what's developing in the political front. Leaders of 26 opposition parties, those ones have slated to attend that power-packed two-day brainstorming session in Bengaluru, and that will start today. AAP, in fact, has agreed to participate, well as Congress that recently declared that it will go on to oppose that ordinance of the Delhi services during the monsoon session of Parliament. So a lot to be looking forward to today, and we will be getting you all of those updates. But with that, it's a wrap, and hope this dose of Newspresso was useful and informative and gives you that kick start to the day, to the week. And don't forget to come back, same place, same time, for your fresh shot of Newspresso. From everyone putting this show together, thanks so much for tuning in.